let's back up. Herod the Great's a murderer. He's paranoid. Antipas is a murderer. Antipas divorces his wife, marries his brother's wife. I mean, there's a lot of non-Jewish things going on in the backdrop of these things.
This is Ask Dr. E, where Dr. Michael Easley answers your biblical or theological questions in 10 minutes or less. Today's question comes from Missy. She writes, "Hello, Hannah and Michael. I am studying to teach Matthew 14. Sorry, Missy, there's no way we answered this in enough time for you to teach. I hope you figured it out. But Missy wants to know if you could help her with this question. Was Herod Antipas, which is who had John the Baptist beheaded, was he Jewish?" And she says, "One of my commentaries said he was, but I am not convinced. Please help." So convince her one way or the other.
We've been getting some great questions that are, the short answer is it's complicated.
Well, and I'm like, why does this, I guess it matters. Does it matter?
Well, I think, I'm guessing her premise is she's studying this passage going, well, if he's a Jew, how could he carry out such a terrible thing to kill John the Baptist because of his manipulative wife and daughter, So, you've been with me to Israel. We've taken our family. And the reason I wanted to bring, this is, I call it my Israel Bible because I have all my cheat sheets for the different places we go. Yeah. But I have this chart in here from the Christian Traveler's Guide that I photocopied and glued in my Bible because the Herods are so complicated.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
So we have Herod the Great, and then we have the 4 main sons, 5 technically, and all the iterations. And so Herod the Great is the megalomaniac builder. He's the one he's from Idumea, which is the Edomite. So he's half Jewish, or he's Jewish. His wife is a Nabotean princess. And so technically Herod Antipas is half Jewish. Now, we have to define, we talk about Christians today, nominal Christians, devout Christians. Yeah. So it's worse in Judaism.
Right.
And there's some interesting history to this question that, it gets pretty technical, but there's a lot going on with what she's asking. So the simple answer is secular Judaism versus devout or pious.
Got it.
But I would even say from a secular standpoint, he was minimal or nominal in his practice. When Herod the Great built places like the Herodium we've been to, Masada, there's always a synagogue, and there are always mikvahs. So the mikvah was the ritual cleaning bath for the men before they could go into the synagogue. When you go into the man-made mountain of the Herodium, where Herod the Great was probably buried, they found a tomb there that's probably his. There's a mikvah there, and there's all the water. He has the tepidarium, the caldarium, the frigidarium, and there's a small synagogue. Now, did they use it on a schedule like Shabbat, like most Jews do? No one knows. I didn't, there's no one historically that can answer that definitively. Josephus, in his book on antiquities and the wars, writes a lot about this. It's a little bit difficult to say specifically, but let's back up. Herod the Great's a murderer. He's paranoid. Antipas is a murderer. Antipas divorces his wife, marries his brother's wife. There's a lot of non-Jewish things going on in the backdrop of these things.
Was it the Great or Antipas that ordered for the Jewish baby boys to be thrown in the
That's
Nile?
the Great. And then he dies.
And then his son. So, that's a pretty quick turnaround as far as...
he dies in 4 BC-ish.
Okay.
And but great question. And that's the murder of the innocents. He kills all the 2-year-old boys within a distance around Bethlehem. Yeah. And that, of course, is when Jesus, Joseph, and Mary, the flight to Egypt. But you think about this, his paranoia that I got to murder the future king, even though it's an infant, because of his legacy.
Awful.
By the way, the word Herod means son of a hero.
Wow.
Or a hero's son.
Wow.
So there's a lot of arrogance in these titles. But the Idumean converts, those who, and this gets pretty technical, but the Hasmoneans had influence over this area before the Herods come in. He moves out the Hasmonean influence and he brings in the Jewish influence. So this is their homeland.
Okay.
So there is a lot of affinity. It's really political capital is what it is. I'm going to be nice to you Jews and bring you in. They're going to be less difficult than the Hasmonean history he would have dealt with. But you and I went to Egypt 2005.
Sure.
And so I think it was.
Yeah.
And we went to Petra. And we climbed up that precipice and looked over the so-called treasury where the Indiana Jones thing.
Yep.
That's where the Nabateans are from.
Oh.
That's southern Judah. So this is where the Herod's legacy comes from, is that part of the area. So the Arabs there, the prince and princess titles are very common down there, but that's where he comes from. So Antipas is a builder in his own right, but most importantly, he's going to be the one that's going to behead John the Baptist at Herodias, the manipulation, the dance. I'll give you whatever you want.
Yeah.
I want the head of John the Baptist.
Yeah.
So all that to say, it is complicated. These little tools are helpful for me. And then there's tetrarchs, and there's subsets and governors. It gets very complicated.
Yeah.
But think of the Kennedy dynasty or the Bush dynasty on steroids.
Yeah.
That's what you have with the Herods.
Yeah.
So I don't know that he was. I would say he's not a practicing devout Jew.
Yeah.
I would say he's a secular Jew at best, but divided loyalties between his wife, Nabatean, and his own legacy with Herod the Great being his crazy father.
Yeah, interesting.
But one of the most accomplished builders on the planet.
Wow. And complex guy. I mean, obviously he kills John the Baptist, but he prior is like asking him, well, I guess he wasn't asking him advice. John the Baptist was just constantly telling him that what he was doing was sinful and wrong.
Well, and that also begets, why would John call him out if he didn't have some Jewish affinity?
True.
I mean,
otherwise
it's supposition.
He's a Gentile.
It's supposition, but why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But again, Herod the Great, his father, these mikvahs, the synagogues.
There's something going on there.
There's got to be some, more than just an affinity to Judaism. But yeah, he's a complicated character and very threatened by everything.
Yeah. Yikes.
Our friend Ronnie Cohen says that Herod the Great was a paranoid Danny DeVito stature. That's why he built all these giant things.
That's funny. That's good, Ronnie. I like that. All right. Well, if you've got a question for Dr. E, call us, text us, email us. The info's in your show notes.